guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we will be talking about Madagascar. Now Madagascar starts off with Marty the zebra daydreaming that he is in the wild, and all of a sudden his best friend Alex the lion jumps up from his fantasy, and he says surprise, snapping him out of it and telling him a happy birthday. And Marty and and Alex says that he had that cavity. So he asks Marty to take a look, and then behind his tooth, he sees the snow globe, and Alex says happy birthday, and it's a snow globe of Alex the lion. And then Marty says, you put it behind the tooth. You're all right. And then Alex says, 10 years, 10 years old, huh? Double digits, a decade. And then Marty says, yeah. And then, looking at his present, he has a sad look on his face, and Alex says, you don't like it? You hate it. I should have gotten you the Alex alarm clock. That's the one. That's the big seller. And then Marty says, no, your present's great, really. It's just another year has come and gone, and I'm still doing the same old thing. Stand over here, stand over there, eat grass over here. And then Marty says, maybe I should go to law school. And then Alex says, you just need to break out of that same boring routine. You know, mix it up a little. Be fresh. And then the bell rings, and Alex gets all happy because it's Friday field trip day. And then he wakes up Melman and Gloria and tells them that it is Friday field trip day. And he tries to wake them up and says, wake up, it's field trip day, wake up. And then Gloria, like me, when she gets waken up from the water because she's a hippo and Melman is the giraffe, Gloria says, it's field trip day, let's get up and go in 5 more minutes. And girl, I am right there with you. Like when I wake up in the morning, I need 5 more minutes of sleep. I am right there with you, girl. And Alex tries to wake up Melman by saying, it's field trip day, Melman, wake up. And then he says that it's a wonderful day in the Big Apple of New York. And then Melman says, not for me, I'm calling in sick because I found another brown spot on my shoulder. And then Alex says, Melman, you know it's all in your head. And so they get on with their routines. Oh, and we meet the 2 monkeys in the movie, Phil and, well, they don't really say the other name of the monkeys, so I don't know the monkey's other name. Actually, while I was reviewing the channel, I did not, and while I was watching the movie, I did not look it up to see the other name of the monkey. I am so sorry. So, yeah. So they they get up, they actually take coffee from the trash can and a donut and a newspaper to read it and get some coffee. From the trash can. But because they're zoo animals. They're all from the zoo. Okay, so anyway, the penguins are making their escape today. And and Kwasky, the leader, tells well, Skipper, the leader, tells and Squawski in private and Rico to smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave because today we are about to leave this dump for good. So they have a plan to leave the zoo. And while a kid is distracted, they actually take his spoon that he was using for his ice cream to dig a hole in the ground to escape. And meanwhile, while they are doing that, Alex, Gloria, and Melman and Marty are performing for the people. Marty tries to be coming out fresh with his axe. So he starts spitting water at the people, starts making fart noises with his arm, and saying, I bet you don't see that out of Animal Planet. Show's over, folks. I hope you thought it was fresh. I will be here for my whole life, including Christmas, Halloween, Kwanzaa. So when they all leave, the adults are they're not happy with with they they are not happy with Alex the lion. No, 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 no. Ugh. I am so sorry, guys. They are not happy that Marty spit on them, but the kids kind of enjoy the water performance that Marty gave. And when they go home, actually, someone in the crowd actually loved Alex so much that they actually threw underwear at him. And then, when everybody is gone, it is time for their dinner. So they have their dinner. And before this, Marty actually sees the penguins digging a hole in the ground. And then when he sees them, he says, what are you guys doing? And then Private says that we are going to Antarctica. Then Skipper hits him and says, my friend, do you ever see any penguins around New York City? And then Marty and then Marty actually shakes his head no. And then Skipper says, of course not. We don't belong here. We are going to the wildest part in Antarctica, to the wild. And Marty says, the wild, you can actually go there? And then Skipper disappears. And then Marty says, wait, where is this place? Tell me where it is. And then Skipper pops right back up and says, you didn't see anything, right? And then Marty says, "Yes, sir. I mean, no, sir." And then Skipper puts the cup that Marty was drinking out of, which is Alex, because Alex has his own water bottle. Like, people love Alex the lion. He is famous in the Central Park Zoo. He So Skipper puts the water bottle in the hole so nobody can see that they digged through the hole to get to Antarctica in the grass. So when the zoo is closed down, they have a they have a little birthday party for Marty, and then they give Marty his present, which is the thermometer of Melman's, and that was Melman's first thermometer. So while Marty is spinning that out, they sing happy birthday to him. And let me just say, it's a cute song. And he makes a wish, and then, and then, and, and then, Marty, Melman, and Gloria, and Alex said, said, said to Marty, "What did you wish for?" And then Marty says, "Nope, can't tell you that." And then Gloria says, "Oh, come on, Marty. Can you just tell us, really, what can happen?" Because Marty said, "It's bad luck. If you want any bad luck, I'll blurt it out." And then, and, and, and then this is when Gloria says, "Oh, for crying out loud, Marty, can you just tell us really what can happen?" And then Marty tells them that he wished that he could go to the wild. And Alex says, "To the wild? Are you nuts? That is that is the most crazy idea that I have ever heard." And then Marty says, "The penguins are going, so why can't I?" And then he says, "Yeah, that's because the penguins are psychotic." And then, and, and then, and then Alex shows him his steak, and he says, "Do you see this? This is the steak, and this is the type of food item that you cannot find in the wild." And Marty makes a good point. He says, "Do you ever think that there's more to life than steak, Alex?" And then he hushes the steak and he says, "He didn't mean that. He did not mean to say that." And then Marty goes off to say, "Just imagine the wild, going back to nature, going back to your roots. Aren't you guys even a little bit curious that you don't know anything about life outside this zoo?" And they say, nope, 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 nope." And Alex says, "Oh, come on, that's just one subject." And then Alex tells Marty that he's got a little icing on his mouth. So Alex wipes his mouth and he says, "Thanks, guys. Thanks for the party. It was great, really." So Marty goes to work out on his running machine. And And Gloria, being the queen, being the number one girl that she is, tells Alex to go talk to him. You know, go over there and give him a little pep talk, make him feel good. And then Alex says, "I already gave him the snow globe. I can't top that." And then Mailman Melvin goes to bed because he can already see where this is going. So he goes to bed while Gloria continues to tell Alex to go talk to him. So while she goes to bed, she points to Alex and Marty together, and like she is telling Alex with her finger to go talk to him before she dived into the water, and after she says goodnight to Marty, and Marty actually says goodnight, Gloria, and then out and and then and and then Alex just lays in his cage saying, "Oh, it just doesn't get any better than this. You know, what an amazing day we had." And then Alex says, "Oh, look at that. It just did. Look, the star's out. I bet you don't see any stars in the wild." And then Marty says, "Helicopter." And then Alex and 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 then Alex says, "Marty, buddy, everybody has that day where they think the grass may be greener on the other side. Everybody has days like that. But," Marty says, "Alex, look at me. I'm 10 years old. My life is passing me by. And I don't even know if I'm white with black stripes or black with white stripes." And Alex cheers him up by singing the New York song. And and while other animals tell them to be quiet and to actually be quiet because they are trying to sleep, and that they are not all nocturnal. And this is where Marty says, "Well, yeah, I will knock your eternal right off, pal." And then he says, "Yeah, you and what army stripes? Um, stripes." And then, and 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 then Marty says, "Wait, wait, 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 wait." And then Alex says, "Watch it. You mess with him, you mess with me, coward." And then they just start laughing together. And then Alex says, "See, we make a great team, Mr. Grumpy Stripes. Now, what are you going to do? Go off into the wild by yourself?" And then he says, "Nope, me and you, let's go. We can grab a train, we'll head north, and we can be back by morning. No one will ever know." And then Alex starts to laugh, and then he says, "You're kidding, right?" And then and then Marty says, "Yes, I'm just joking." And then Alex says, "Don't do that. You really had me worried there." And then when the people forget to turn off the ambulance, the thing that makes noise, Marty turns it off for Alex, and Marty actually tells Alex goodnight. And then when Alex is sleeping, dreaming of steak, okay, Melman wakes him up and tells Alex and Melman tells Alex that Marty is gone. And then Alex tells his friend, like, I bet Marty went to Connecticut. So they tried to call the people, but Alex knows that the people can't understand him, so he throws the phone booth away. And it turns out that Melman, Gloria are going to Connecticut with Alex to get Marty back. And so Alex is thinking that Marty is lost, alone, and confused. Nope, he went to Grand Central Station to go to Connecticut to take the train because Melman put it in his head that Melman and Gloria said that they got wide open spaces to Connecticut, and what Marty needed to do, what Marty could do is take the train. But Marty was talking hypothetically, they thought, so they didn't think that Marty would actually do it. And then on the train, they are talking about and then on the train, Gloria says, "What did Marty say to you? I asked you to talk to him." And then Alex says that he did. And then he said that he was 10 years old and that he wanted me to go to the wild with him, but I said no, and so and so, so and so. And so the man that is sitting by Alex is afraid of him. But he didn't know that Alex was just reading the paper and seeing that his baseball team lost. And he was like, oh man. And then Melman was like, what did you expect? And then they get to Grand Central. They get to Grand Central Station, and then Alex gets hit by an old lady with a purse, and the old lady says, "You're a bad kitty." And then she hits Melman as well, but they catch up to Marty and stop him before he gets off of the. So they stop him before he can get on another train because he missed the other train, and that he is going to have to take the express now. But Alex has got him along with Gloria and Melman. So with this going on, remember when he was walking up to the horse to ask him where Grand Central Station is? Well, anyway, that horse had a police officer rider. And so the police officer rider called in for backup and the police and animal control to show up. So, while Alex is telling Marty to never do this again, never, ever, 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 ever leave the zoo again. Oh, and they are not the only ones who left the zoo. The monkey, Phil, and his friend, they left the zoo too, along with the penguins who were there to catch the train. And then when they heard the sirens, they said, "We've been ratted out, boys." So they put up their hands as in to surrender. And with Alex being there with Marty And let me tell you again, they're all animals. And Melvin getting his head stuck into a clock, and Gloria tries to help him. Everyone froze when they saw the police. And with the police being scared of all the animals being out of the zoo, they hit them with sleeping darts. And so when they get up back to the zoo people decide that they are going up to the wildlife preserve because Alex was because because Alex was talking to them, but they're humans, so the humans thought Alex was roaring at them and were going to attack them. So they sent so they sent them off in crates, and Alex says, "They can't transfer me, not me." "Oh, I'm in a box, not the box. I feel so cold." But Marty is there too, and Gloria and Melman. And and Alex says, "This is all your fault, Marty. You bit the hand, Marty. You bit the hand. And now we are all being transferred. It is a zoo transfer." And they are all worried for good reason. Because Melman is worried about all the appointments that he has to get to. And he said that I have an appointment with Dr. Gilman at 5. No other zoo can afford my medical care, and I am not going HMO. And Marty says, "Melman, we are going to be okay. We are going to be okay." And then Alex says, "No, Marty, we're not going to be okay because of you. We're all being transferred." And then Marty tries to take up, and then Melman tries to take up for Marty and says, "Well, it's not really his fault, Alex. It's yours, because I did insist that we stay at the zoo, but you guys wanted to go chasing after Marty, and then they all get in a fight, and then they all tell Melman to just be quiet." And then Gloria says, "Alex, leave Melman out of this, please." And then Melman says, "Thank you, Gloria." And then Gloria also says, "Melman, just shut it." And then the penguins take charge of the ship when they find out that they are being shipped to the wildlife preserve. So, by the monkeys. The monkeys are there too, and the box reads that they are going to the wildlife preserve in Africa. And then the penguins tie up the captain, and then they turn the boat around, but since they turned the boat around so sharply, Melman and Gloria and Alex all fall off the boat and into the water because they were already fighting. And so, when the penguins turned the boat around, they lost Melman, Gloria, and Marty and Alex on an island. So, Alex is the first to arrive, and it is so sweet. He doesn't want Melman, Gloria, or Marty to go, So he called out for Marty, and he says, Marty! And Marty says, Alex! And then Alex says, please don't go. And so Alex, Alex washes up on the island first, and he called out for Melman, Gloria, and Marty. And the next day, Melman washes up on shore as well. And then Gloria washes up on shore, getting Melman out of the box as Alex tries to get Gloria out of the box, and she kicks her way out, which makes Alex fall on Melman's box because he was trapped in it. But now he is free. And and actually and actually and actually we see Marty surfing the waves. And then when Marty gets on the island, it seems like Marty and Alex are happy to see each other. But actually, Alex just wants to beat up Marty because he thinks that he ruined his life because he was the king of the zoo and now he's not because they're all stuck on the island. And Mel, so Gloria and Melman get them together in a big group hug, and Gloria says, "Look at us, we're all here together, safe and sound." And then Melman says, "Yeah, but where exactly is here?" So they think they're in San Diego, and then they meet the Fusa from inside the woods of the wilds of Madagascar. But they don't know that the Fusa is practically eating my poor Mort. Mort is the cutest thing ever. So they are practically eating poor Mort, making him into a salad. So Alex goes to talk to the Fusa first because because at first how at 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 first is how they come to Madagascar. Alex Alex hears music and then they go running into the woods, and then Gloria says, "Hey, it's not people, it's animals." Because she thought with the music turned up that there were people there, but they're actually animals of Madagascar. They're actually lemurs. And then the Fusa were attacking, but okay, let me explain. The Madagascar animals were dancing and having fun and having a party, but then the Fusa came and everybody got scared. And then Alex, who fell behind his friends as they went to go talk to who they thought were the people, he got caught in trees and bushes and in spider webs. And when he finally caught up to them, the Fusa were attacking that. The Fusa took over the territory, and then Alex came to them, and then a, a spider crawled on Alex just to say hello. And then he roared, and then he scared the Fusa away, and and then and then and 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 then Al and then um and then King Julian welcomed them to Madagascar, and Alex says, "Do you have any people around here that we can talk to so we can get settled?" And then King Julian says, "Yes, they're up there." And it turns out that all the people they have are just skeletons. And then and then Alex the lion says, "Well, do you have any live people?" And then Ma- Ma- and Marie says, "Well, if we had any live people here, it wouldn't be called the wild, now would it?" And then Marty looks happy because he knew that his dream has finally come true and that they're in the wild. And then Alex tries to swim his way back, knowing that he can't swim, and then Gloria stops Alex and says, "Look, I'm pretty sure the people didn't drop us here on purpose, and once they realize that we are gone, they will be on their way back to get us." And while they are there, they build uh, and 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 what and while they are there, Alex draws a line in the sand and tells Marty that this is your side of the island and this is our side. You can stay there on your side of the island and be happy about being in the wild. But we on our side of the island are going to be care are going to care about going home. And then you see Alex and Marty trying to build shelters for themselves. And Alex actually built himself a nice shelter. And he sees Marty struggling to build his shelter. And then Marty doesn't struggle because he built his shelter and it looks all nice. And then And then and then Alex builds the Statue of Liberty while Melman is trying to build a fire, but he cannot build a fire, and he asks if they could borrow some of Marty's fire, and then Alex says, "That's wildfire. We are not using wildfire on our island of the Statue of Liberty." So, Melvin ends up making the fire, but actually burning down the Statue of Liberty. And then it turns out that Melman and Gloria are both on the fun side of the island where Marty is, and built his he built himself a little house along with chains. Where did you get the chains for, sir? There's no metal on the island, so where did you get the chains from to build the house with? To build blocks with, sir? So anyway, after Alex's help sign falls down, he goes over to the fun side where Marty is, and he asks if he could come in and come over to the fun side with them. So they all welcome Alex onto the fun side, and they all eat seaweed and drink sea water. Well, they don't actually drink it, they drink it, then they spit it out. And they look at the stars, and Alex says, "You know what I can go for right now? A nice juicy steak." Now, keep this in mind as the movie goes on. So, back when King Julian is talking, so back with King Julian is talking to all his subjects, and the second one in charge is Maurice. So, Maurice is like his right hand man. Yeah, Maurice is like his right hand man. So, so he says, we make friends with the New York Giants, and we tell them to stay. And then with with the New York Giants being our friends, the Fusa can no longer attack us. So the Fusa, they're like hyenas that comes to attack them. But since Alex scared them off on accident because Gloria was trying to kill a spider, but they did scare the Fusa away, so King Julian's plan is to take them while they are asleep to where King Julian and his subjects are, and to treat them very nicely so they can stay, and Mr. Alex, the New York Giant, as King Julian calls them, can protect them from the Fusa. And then, Maurice tells Julian, "I don't know, Julian. There is something that There is something about that one with the crazy hairdo, Mr. Alex, that still scares me to death and gives me the heebie-jeebies." And then King Julian says, "Maurice, you didn't raise your hand, so nobody cares about your heebie-jeebies." And Maurice says, "What if Mr. Alex is even more scared than the Fusa? Maybe we should be scared too." And then King Julian says, "Nonsense." And then when Alex is dreaming of steak again, he actually bites, well, actually licks Marty because he thinks that Marty is a steak. And then when they get and then when they get taken to Madagascar by King Julian, Alex and Marty are running in the woods, and Alex is getting and Alex is getting so excited, and Gloria says, "Marty, you were right." And Alex says, "Marty, this place is crack-a-lackin'," and he is feeling so much better running and and um and he actually gets so excited that he actually chases Marty and says, "Who's the cat? Who's the cat? Who's the cat? Who's the cat? Who's the cat?" And then he jumps in front of Marty and says, "I win." And then they tried to put on a performance with Alex like they do when the people say the King of New York, Alex the Lion. So, when they put on the performance, Alex gets a little too happy and he starts acting like a real lion and growling and putting his claws out for everyone to see. And Maurice tells Marty and Gloria and Melman it's because Alex is acting this way, and the reason why he licked you and bit you the other day when you were sleeping. Well, actually, he didn't bite. He didn't bite. He didn't bite Marty until he was performing. Until he saw Marty as a steak, and then he bit Marty as he was performing the Alex the Lion bit. And then Maurice tells them all it's because he thinks that you are his dinner. Mr. Alex belongs with his own kind with the on the Fusa part of the island. And then his friend says, "You're crazy." And then Marty asks Alex, "Alex, do I look like a steak to you?" And then he says, "Yeah." And then Marty says, "See?" And then Marty says, "Wait, what?" And then Alex says, "Oh, yeah." So he chases after him. And then he snaps out of it, and then he says, "What is wrong with me?" And then he ends up hurting his head because his claws are out. So he built a fence around himself because he knows that he is going wild. To protect Melman and Gloria and um and um and um and and Melman. He stayed away, and then he goes to the Fusa part of the island, and he builds a fence around himself of sticks, a fence of sticks, and then and then and then and and then when he bit Marty, everybody got scared and ran away after he started growling and roaring at them. So everybody ran away. So with Alex knowing that he is dangerous, he built a fence of sticks around himself. And the penguins actually make it to Antarctica, but then they come back to get the penguins. And then the boat comes to get them on the island of Madagascar. And then Marty goes to get Alex. And he says, "Alex, you are my best friend. And I am not leaving here without you. And you are not a monster." And I'm like, yeah, that's a true friend. So Marty starts singing the New York, New York song. But at first it doesn't work. But then the Fusa come on that side of the island and they try to eat Marty. And then Alex hears this. Alex, Alex hears this as he's sitting in the background there by himself. He hears the Fusa attacking, and then he hears Marty asking him for help. But it's just so heartbreaking when he finally finds Alex, but Alex is still thinking that he's a steak, and he's like, "No, Marty, stay back. I don't want to hurt you." And then the lion in him just wants to eat him, but he tries to tell himself to stay back because he hasn't had steak in so long. So he's craving steak at the moment because he hasn't had steak in so long. Well, um, it's called withdrawal. You see, Alex went through a withdrawal, so when he didn't have steak for so long, he was craving steak. He thought that everything was steak, and since he hadn't had steak in so long, he went through a withdrawal. And actually, Alex here, the Fusa running after Marty, and this is when Alex gets, gets control of himself, but he still looks like a hungry lion. But stay with me on this, guys. He still looks like a hungry lion, right? He still looks like a hungry lion. But that's good because he goes right up to the Fusa and he says, "Don't ever come here again. This is my territory, understand?" And then him and Marty and Melman and Gloria put on a show, and they act like Alex is a scary beast monster. And so the Fusa is afraid, and the Fusa runs away, and then Alex and Marty and Melman and Gloria hug it out, and then and then and and then and and then when they are all in the group hug, Alex says, "Now what's for lunch?" And then they all have a thank you meal for Alex that saved them for the Fusa. But instead of a steak, they have fish. So, so when Alex eats the fish, he is cured. He no longer wants a steak anymore. And they all have a toast to Alex from saving them from the Fusa. And after this, they are planning to go home, and they get on the boat to go home. And then Alex says, "You know, you guys, what's the rush? What if we do go home, but we make some stops along the way?" And then they all talk about what their next trip is going to be while the penguins are laying in the sun. And and this is when Private says, "Skipper, do you think we should tell them that the boat is out of gas?" And then Skipper says, "No, just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave." And that is the end of Madagascar. Bye, and see you guys in my next channel. Bye.